So this is going to be a little bit slow, like I said, because of the stream. Also, running in the editor is not helping matters either. But so if we switch over to the beacon launcher, you can see now we've got. I still need to do something. You can see there's kind of a sort of a particle system going there that I'm not 100% happy with. Like I want some kind of motion line, but it's not 100% what I want. But I am happy with the decal that's being projected. And so I've removed, in the process of doing this, I've removed the ability to charge. So you used to basically hold the right mouse button, and the strength would increase, basically the strength of your beacon. But I've taken that out, and I think that's okay. I've just picked what I thought was, you know, kind of reasonable distance, and you can just arc it up a little bit if you want to go a bit further, right? So you don't really lose too much, but just kind of simplifies things and whatnot. So. Pretty happy with that. We'll do a little running around and see how far I can get here. So one thing I've done as well recently is adjust the enemy spawning per level. So we won't get, for example, rats in the first level at all, except for the ones in this little area. They're kind of isolated, but we won't get the free roaming rats that, you know, rats actually end up being some of the more difficult enemies in this game, just because they can follow you through tunnels. So like we've got these little, like see that gated area, for example, or I'm not seeing one here. But there's little kind of like, yeah, we'll see one in a bit, but they can basically follow you a little bit more aggressively than the mutant guys. So I've made some progress as well on this connection between the multiple floors. So it used to just be like a placeholder ramp, and now it's still a slightly out of place ramp, but I've given it a better texture, and I've added these additional platforms higher up here, and a better placeholder texture for the rope. Still needs a proper model and everything, but at least it kind of matches the rope that you pick up. I've got these extra little platforms here. And so yeah, I was saying, so basically you won't get any enemies other than the little ghost guys or rats in the pit there on the first floor, but you'll start to get the blind mutant miners on the second floor. And I've adjusted it so spawn rooms on the second floor or greater can spawn enemies too. So occasionally you'll come up one of these and you'll find a guy right there, which is kind of cool, I think. Whereas previously spawn rooms would never have enemies. Because you don't want that first room having enemies. That wouldn't make any sense, right? You just spawn right into a room with an enemy right next to you. So now we get the blind guys, which they can't see you, obviously, being blind, but they can hear you. So if I run, they'll go where I was, and if I don't move, someone's gonna walk right up to you and just do a little swipe and do a really pretty sizable chunk of damage. Here's one of those little kind of crawl spaces and stuff. I've also sped up the footsteps. They felt too slow. I don't know. This seems more like the speed I'm moving. Right, they sounded kind of like you were taking giant steps at the interval they were playing. So. I've also fixed or adjusted the colliders for weapons. I wasn't quite feeling them connect with things, and it's because the colliders were too high, so I've lowered them all. There's still a couple cases where it doesn't feel quite right to me, but overall, it's, I'm not missing stuff as much. And that's frustrating, right? When it looks like you should be hitting something, you're not. So. Ghost. I have an idea that we'll see where it goes, but I thought maybe when the ghosts hit you, you know, flashing some kind of image, some kind of like terror image. I thought about having pictures of old miners, but I haven't tested that idea with too many people, so if you have any thoughts on that, I'd gladly welcome them. One person said, you know, they thought photos might be a little bit out of place, although I would probably stylize them so that they'd be more pixelated, kind of like the art, so... I think it could work, personally. So I may try that out. Let's see what else is new here. Oh yeah, so you can hear the... oh, this guy's a regular guy, you can see him. Some levels have switches, basically you need to activate all the switches to find the rope, so the one above does, that's the sound you hear. It's actually something I need to look at some point, is you could hear now that I've added multiple floors, there's no kind of occlusion for the sound sources right now, so sometimes you can hear stuff basically through the floor, which doesn't really make sense, it's a bit confusing. I did have a kind of occlusion going on before where I'd do a raycast and see like for certain sounds I'd apply a low pass filter, for example. Circles here, I think. That's something else I need to look at. Although I don't necessarily mind it. I've added these little dirt piles along the edges here and rocks and stuff just to make it a little more organic, but then I spawn these barrels and it knocks them over. And so you potentially kind of screw yourself, as I may have just done. No, there we go. And there's a little calling artifact, it looks like. Yeah. So I'm going to actually make a note of that right now. Yeah, magic barrels, yeah. Yeah, you can see all the various bugs I logged in my last run. Hopefully that means enough to me later. And I'm not like, what was I saying? What was I thinking? But there's a couple different types of calling going on right now. Like this is room level stuff where it will hide the entire room, and then there's for like the big guys and the high poly stuff. Those are done through raycast separately. And I also have to fix this interact point on that ramp. It's a bit... That's a good time to show off the freeze beacons, actually. So basically just one of these here, and this freezes them. So kind of chill out. Ricardo says he loves the beacon shot sound effect. I was thinking recently it's a touch on the loud side, but I didn't mean to throw a freeze beacon there, but now I can't reclaim it. And so yeah, as you can see here, when we're on the 4th floor of the current level, I've got the old style exit prefabs that you interact with to then move to the next level. So there's another switch, and we missed one. It's a little bit not obvious when these rooms are flooded, so at some point I'll have to add a little bit more of a visual cue of what's going on. So that is level 1. And so basically with each level I increase the difficulty of the enemies with the frequency and the difficulty, so I've got more aggressive toxic guys that you can't even, if you're near them, they'll do a little bit of damage to you as well. So I'll just jump ahead to level 4, and so we should start seeing some rats as well, and some toxic guys. And I was thinking of maybe adding a light source for the toxic guys, just so they glow a bit more. I mean, they're already pretty damn glowy, but it would be nice to... I may not see any until a little bit later in the level, which is one thing I might need to look at, because I definitely like to have more toxic guys by this point in the game, right? Because this would be like level 12, 13, I guess, or floor 13, I guess. And see, I don't think there are toxic guys yet until I get to like the next floor. No rats either, which is a bit surprising. To make this thing a bit smaller, because it ends up being a little bit too tight in here right now. Either that or just adjust the corner bits. Yeah, no toxic guys yet. Yeah, I've also noticed that, and I don't know if this is something I accidentally broke recently, these guys lose track of you very, very quickly. I would say too quickly. So these. Yeah, like look at that. He should be a little bit more aggressive than that. So something I'll have to look at. I remember having that issue a while ago, but maybe I never fixed it. Let's make a note of that as well. Now I'm just calling them, they will forever be known as ghouls. They're, I guess, mutant miners, but they just started off, I think the original asset was called ghoul, and so everything's just called ghoul now. Yeah, I thought I'd fix that. Probably just spend a couple more days just sort of dealing with anything that's really bugging me, and then I'm gonna put a build up on itch. I was originally planning on doing a little bit of an early access on itch, but based on my experience with Super Rocket Ride, I'm thinking I'm just gonna kind of skip that, because it's looking like it's not a great platform for that kind of stuff. Like, that's, you know, when it comes to like actual promotion. Here we go, get some rats down. Got all the rats at once. Let me chill out over here for a second. Yeah, they end up being like the most terrifying enemies because of they just follow you. I love this when you come to the top and they're just kind of wandering around. You could probably cheese them right now. Yeah. Let's tweak that difficulty a little bit, because that's there we go. Yeah, see, suddenly now we get, yeah, there's something a little bit off with my difficulty. Suddenly now we get all the rats and all toxic guys. But yeah, I was thinking of adding a light source to these guys just to make them glow even more. As you can see, like between the particle system and the this is where... Oh, my cat's back. Still my chair, I think. This is where you'd want to be using your beacons. So the idea would be, you know, way through the first 2 levels. Hopefully find some beacons. I do currently spawn the player at 2, but the hope is you'll find a couple as you go. Oh wow, did this guy just follow me in here? So that's a first. That's even more terrifying. Make a note of that one too. And the nice thing is I have it recorded here, so I can hopefully see what happened, because that shouldn't have been possible with the way the navigation meshes work. Unless he was spawned in there or something like that, which, yeah, could be from a bug, because I recently moved the logic for where I spawn rats. Yeah, at some point I'll add some kind of fishy sort of things going on in there, but probably during early access. Just trying to think if there's anything else I want to cover while we're here. There's a good chance to see if he follows me. Are you gonna follow me? No, he must have spawned in it. Yeah, so as I was saying, you can't really talk, play this game apparently.